Let's go. Hey, fam, we back again. We're back with some hot topics. We back with some good sports information. And a young man that's sitting to my left. Hey, man, this is going to be a blast. This is going to be a show of all shows. It's going to be a great show. And we want you guys to understand and listen very thoroughly. If you got junior that's interested in any kind of sport, or the young lady, it don't have to be junior, it can be a young lady.
Absolutely.
Hey, just listen in today. We're giving you a whole lot of more history than I have ever thought about giving you. This young man to my left, had talked to him one time on the phone, knew his dad. I used to wake up every morning to his dad, believe it or not, on my way to work. Good morning,
Yes.
And I say that's,
KKDA.
That's Dr. Blair, KKDA,
Yes,
KKDA. Every morning he would wake us up. Didn't know he was very influential in Negro baseball. Didn't know that, until he talked about it. And when he talked about it, it blew my mind that this guy is like, it's like an encyclopedia. And this is the first people. This is the gentleman right here that discovered Ernie Banks, Mr. Cub. He discovered Ernie. And man, and what a phenomenal story it was to hear him talk about that. I never knew anything about it. My mother went to school with Ernie, but they only knew what they knew when they was going to school.
Right.
They didn't know the whole linguistics of it and how everything really started. So Mr. Blair's son is here with us today. Daryl Blair. And he's going to give us a lot of information. And we want y'all to sit back and enjoy the ride. Spider's right. Hey, again, people, Spider's driving. He doesn't like to stop, but he'll slow down and let you get on. Spider is a top guy. And anybody that want to show, hey, please come talk to Spider. Spider's a genius, man. This guy is a genius.
He is.
And y'all don't even know what y'all missing.
Calmly astute.
I mean, very astute. Yeah. And Spider is a great guy. And
loyal.
He's very loyal.
Very loyal.
And let's pray for his family. A couple of weeks ago, he had a little, incident. And I'm not, going to elaborate on that. But he can tell you. But Clay, everybody else, Miss Roberts, anybody that want to show, hey, please come up here and see Spider. Please, please. And anything that y'all like to do, for the show, it's fine with us and everything. We accept whatever you want, socks, shoes, whatever. I'll just tease it.
Bring it on.
Bring it on. And we're going to get right into this thing. Daryl, tell me something, man. How did your dad, man, who discovered your dad?
Well, I think my dad's essence came by virtue of my grandfather, Williams the Senior, but more directly because my grandfather was so, he was such a workaholic, from what I understand, that my grandmother was a house, homemaker.
Okay.
And so in as much, my father just always delved into sports. He had nothing to do, other than listen to the radio. Wasn't no TV for them.
Right.
And so he got involved with sports and running and playing football. And, back then, as he explained it, pick up baseball. Baseball was like pick up basketball now.
All right.
They just as soon go to the park, play a game of baseball, whether it's the fellas or girls being involved.
Okay.
They go to the park and play baseball. They didn't play basketball like they do now.
Right.
Now the sport is pick up basketball, play it year round. And so Coach Raymond Holly, who was
remember him,
pioneer coach here in DISD, and when you was talking about PVIL and when it was segregation,
Booker T. Yeah.
When my father got over to Booker T in 37, I think it was, he told me. Coach Holly was 23 years old, had just left Bishop College and came over there, and his dad said everybody was challenging him, like, who's this young fella gonna come coach?
Can I say one thing about Coach Holly? People don't even know that he went to the Olympics the previous year with Jesse Owens.
Didn't know that.
And he was All-American running back at Morgan State, which Morgan State just inducted him, if I'm not mistaken, not too long ago. All of these years in the Sports Hall of Fame. He was All-American running back.
Well, you got me there because I thought that Holly came from Bishop College.
Morgan State.
Okay.
It was Morgan State.
That's part of his makeup and his history, but, I agree with you.
Met him as a young man. When absolutely. I was 10, 11 years old, he was living off of Hatchet, and that's what I was telling the family.
Lived, absolutely.
Long ago.
Died, no matter what he accomplished, he lived in that same little white frame house.
Yeah, right down the street from Safeway, as we called it at that time.
Absolutely.
And my mother saw him.
Okay.
And she said, here comes Coach Holly. She said, Coach Holly, here's my son. And I was about 10, 11 years old at the time. And he shook my hand, and he looked to be about 9 feet tall. He probably wasn't that tall, maybe about 6 foot, if that.
Coach Holly was about 5'9".
Okay.
Yeah.
But to me as a kid,
giant.
Yeah. And when he left Booker T, he went to Roosevelt High School.
Booker T. Washington, he went to W.T. White too, but he started Roosevelt's program.
Oh, okay, then.
Yeah.
That's great to hear. See, that part of it I lost.
Yeah, he didn't like it out there. And when he got to Roosevelt, he told Daddy, and I'm going to say this, he said, Blair, them Negroes crazy. Even the dogs crazy. They won't get out the middle of the street. So, but he's the one that fired that program up over at Roosevelt. Holly was a remarkable man. So, he inspired my father to the great heights. And so it seems like everybody who came through Booker T. Washington had fire in them that was above and beyond playing football at Holly. I mean, for Holly at Booker T, it went past that. When they graduated, they all came back. That's the original alumni spirit, that they would all come back. And I could imagine if Booker T. Washington was still around now, those individuals, because they still got the Booker T. Washington Lincoln Alumni Association, they had to unify.
Right.
And so, these guys, they were just wholeheartedly dedicated to Holly. And so my father said, when he first got there, first day, they raced across campus and Holly beat him. But it's funny you say that Holly ran with Jesse Owens.
Yeah, Holly was a track guy.
My dad Barnstormed with Jesse.
Did he?
Ran a little bit with Jesse.
Okay.
Traveling, to just make some extra money outside of barnstorming in baseball. And he said that when he was at one race, Dad said he was 31 or something like that, and say,
wow,
wasn't gonna work. Said, most engines just couldn't go.
Just couldn't go no more, huh?
So that deal there. But you talk about some things, and you were talking about PVIL, then you talked about Negro League Baseball.
Right.
And I can remember at the inception of them putting together the thing for the Negro League Baseball Museum. When Uncle Buck called Daddy and said, Blair, I'm gonna try to get a museum going. So they had the black mayor of Kansas City told them if they could get money, they could raise some money, they'd get matching funds from the city to bring that there, because it was a historical marker. It's that another, because it's in the Vine, the 18th and Vine district. All that is really pretty much the same thing it was back in the day, just been modernized.
Okay.
But long story short, they crisscrossed the country. Dad was an ambassador for the Negro League Baseball Museum. If Uncle Buck was in the East, over in DC or on the East Coast, he had an appointment on me, and an engagement on the West Coast, Dad would go. Okay. And so consequently, my father has been on the board of governors since its inception in 1994.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. And so, my father 3 times a week would talk to Uncle Buck. And I'm quite sure that Spider was at the office at times that Buck would call, and Uncle Buck would call, and Ernie would call. Ernie never graduated to Uncle Ernie.
Wow.
But, it's a unique story behind Ernie's existence. You talk about your family members knowing Ernie Banks. I can flat guarantee you that they knew Ernie Banks in high school as a basketball player, not a baseball player.
They did. And Mom said he also played wide receiver, which then it was like end.
Yeah.
It wasn't such thing as a tight end, split end, and none of that. It was just plain old end.
Negroes didn't have baseball teams in that day.
And that's what she said.
They didn't have them in school.
Man,
which
she
is
said
strange
that.
to believe, given all the success of black baseball players in the Negro leagues, but they didn't have them.
So he was football and basketball.
Football and basketball. I think he ran the hurdles in track, if I'm not mistaken.
He did. He did. Yeah.
And so, that speaks volumes of his athletic ability.
Wow.
That Dad and my mother lived across the street. I wasn't born yet, so
okay. Got you.
On the eyewitness part.
Got you.
But my father said he was sitting on the front porch and smoking a cigarette at the time. He ended up smoking cigars.
Who, Ernie?
Years, but no, my dad.
Okay.
And he said he's looking over at the field. What are they doing? They playing pickup baseball, and said he's watching Ernie shag balls and Ernie catch balls, guys hitting, and at that time, pitcher what they was pitching, guys hitting anyway, so they hit all day. Yeah. And say, look out there and say, he just watched. He said, first he saw him make a catch. And he said, okay. So he went in the house, come back out, and he's sitting out there and got him whatever. My dad didn't drink, so it had to be tea or lemonade or whatever, water. But he just said he was sitting out there, and the longer he sat, the more he was impressed with this kid. So he went over there and started.
How old was Ernie at that time?
Ernie was a junior in high school, I think. Dad
so about 17.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he said that he just developed with Ernie because he'd get him up there on the weekend and have him come around there, and he'd throw balls and hit balls and throw them at an awkward, angle and things like that. Ernie catch all of them. So the short of that is, Dad calls Uncle Buck. Okay. He said he called Buck. He told Buck, I got one.
Wow.
So Buck
just as easy.
Buck, he said he called Buck. He got Buck on the phone. And he said, Buck, I got one. And Buck sent back and told him, say, Blair, send him to me. Well,
wow.
the Kansas City Monarchs didn't send no money. So Daddy, he and my mother almost broke up on this note. My dad took the bill money, which was the rent, my mama said, took the rent money to buy Ernie a suit and a train ticket, not a bus.
Okay.
A train.
A
Train
train
was the
ticket.
means of transportation in.
Okay.
A train ticket, and gave him some pocket money and said, Mama looked up and her daddy, who owned the property, came to collect the rent.
Uh-huh.
And Daddy told her what she'd done. And he was like, that almost broke them up. So
Wow.
Daddy took the bill money. So, Ernie was always indebted, not to my dad, but to my mother.
Really?
Yeah, because she stayed with my daddy in spite of what he had done with that bill money.
Even though it came close.
Yeah. And then she was, and here's the dark side of that story. My mother was angry at Ernie for a little while because Ernie made it. He didn't reach back initially.
Okay.
I imagine he was getting himself situated, whole 9 yards. But as he grew further, he began to reach back to my father and, those individuals that supported him and pushed him along. Not financially, just to be, respectful of their encouragement to him. So the relationship, my father, with his prideful self, if his feelings were hurt, he never wouldn't say it.
Right.
And his whole thing was, he know where he came from.
He knows. So, yeah.
That's all he would do.
And man, he talked about that in my first understanding who Ernie Banks was on in a Ebony magazine. Yeah. Ebony magazine with a milk. The milk you drink, milk, build strong, bone strong, and everything. Right. Uh-huh. And he had a white mustache, like you get through drinking beer. Yeah, and that's when my mother picked up an Ebony magazine. We were downtown and she looked at it. She said, "Here go my classmate." And I'm like, "Mom, who's your classmate?" She said, "This guy, Ernie Banks." I said, "Mom, you don't know no Ernie Banks." She said, "I could look out my back door and look straight into Ernie's back door."
Wow.
She said, I knew all his, brothers and sisters, oldest and better.
At that time.
Exactly. Yeah, and I couldn't believe it. And she said, "Son, I was a cheerleader and we graduated the same year." She said, "Yeah, Booker T High School. She was a cheerleader." She said, "I know Ernie Banks." And when she opened up that Ebony magazine, it's funny that I talk about that, just going downtown, looking at sports magazines. Me and Spider and I had done the same thing. Lucky, I don't know how we didn't, cross paths with each other, but wow.
Well, it's amazing because when Booker T did its reopening, they had remodeled it and they reopened.
Oh, there
Booker
it is.
T.
Yeah.
The thing was, my father finished Booker T in 39.
Wow.
And so that was the last year. That was the first year. That was the first year of Lincoln. Lincoln was opened in 39. Booker T was opened in 23. So Lincoln was opened in 39, and that was Lincoln and Booker T played. They split the school. Those who were in South Dallas went to Lincoln, and those who were north and all points west and east went to Booker T. And so they beat Booker T 6-0. My dad scored the only touchdown in the game. But here's the funny part to that. When they had the rededication of the school, my mother was the first queen of Booker T in 1941 and repeated in 1940. I mean, 1940. Okay. Repeated in 41. She was the first queen in the history of the school.
Miss Booker T.
My mother, Moselle Blair.
Ain't that something? See, this is history, people. This is stuff that we don't know.
Right.
This is stuff that's being erased every day as we speak. A lot of young people think Booker T now as a performance art school.
Yeah, that's what it didn't understand.
Didn't understand the magnitude of it being a high school. And I used to pass by there, quite a bit, but I just didn't understand the magnitude of it.
Well, they showed their medal. The Booker T alums showed their medal, and Dallas residents alike, those who had gone to Lincoln even came down there and stood at the board and said, "No, you're not going," because they had one point had a deal where they were getting ready to rename Booker T Performing Arts. Dallas Performing Arts High School. And they was like, "No, you're not going to take our legacy and our history."
Right.
You've erased a lot of it over here with regards to the gentrification and, it's being downtown and you built everything around it and boxed it in. And they held strong. And so Booker T remains Booker T. And, I'm so grateful that you do that and that you bring up the PVIL because some of the history is just subsequently lost, man.
It's lost, man. It's gone.
When they had the rendering of the statue for Ernie Banks, they actually had the class president from somewhere back in the 50s. And I know the gentleman very well, John Thomas. His son was Kirk Thomas, went to Hillcrest and played TCU.
Okay.
John Thomas was class president in the 1950s at Lincoln.
And
so
Lincoln.
He had
Okay.
to come over to Booker T to read, the ledger of history and do that particular part for the dedication of the Ernie Banks statue. And I thought that odd because there are quite a few accomplished individuals who had gone to Booker T that I imagine was around, maybe not in the best health.
Right.
But John did an eloquent job because those guys, they were all like this.
They were family.
Yeah, they were family.
They were family. And that's one of the things that I was searching for, in a lot of times in my research. Those guys, knew each other, because if you like you were saying earlier, a lot of these guys went to school together.
Well, see, my father spoke to that volume when he told me, they put me in private school. I went to Bishop Dunn, going to South Oak Cliff and Roosevelt, but I went to Bishop Dunn. And I was, some things that came up in conversation and that I was doing. And he was talking about integration. Mm-hmm. And my father told me, he said, Daryl, integration ruined us as a race of people.
I think so.
Because we were so closely connected at the hip. Even Negroes you didn't like, you circled the wagons when it came to some of your culture, your heritage, and in your community. You circled the wagons. You say, but now we so spread out and so fractured that, if a Negro go live out, say, Forney, and he the unique Negro out there, he don't want to come back over to South Dallas where he grew up.
He's not.
He's not going to take his kids back to show
days
none
are
of that
over.
history.
Right.
Walk them down the street. Even if the house not there and say, well, that's where grandmama's house used to be, a great grandmama's house.
Right.
That kind of thing. And so I was always, I feel now I wasn't always fortunate because it was a dread getting up Saturday morning. I want to go outside and play with my friends.
Right.
We didn't have a football game. And even after football games, a little league, a bitty ball game, or whatever we did, or track meet, guess what I had to do? Hop in the car with my dad and ride for him to go drop his papers off. And as we rode, he pointed out every Negro, every person on a street corner, sitting on a bicycle, ride by in a car, their significance or insignificance.
You knew it.
In that community. He'd tell you their history. But guess what? He was taking me back to peruse over where he had come from, where he had grew up, and what he was able to see.
Okay.
And at this age now, I'm grateful that my father done that.
Man, that was a beautiful thing, man.
Because the history that I understood and I garnered from my dad is probably a lot more than kids in this day and age know about their families. They don't know who their grandfather is, and I'm not putting them down. Please don't take it that way.
Right.
What I'm saying is, those parents are not taking the time to really educate them about the legacy and the history of their family. Their family members don't have to be famous for them to endure or sustain a legacy. You sustain a legacy of good character, hard work, or whatever it was that grandfather and grandmother put forth.
Yep.
You sustain that. You work on that. You build on that. That's a foundation. You put bricks in it.
That's the key.
They don't do that, man. And so to be able to come back and revisit these kind of conversations, it is quite warming to me.
That's why it's fading, a lot of that time, when I was looking at the PVIL leagues, and the first time I got exposed to it is when I went to Prairie View. I saw some things that PV.
Why you got that Southern hat on there, Doc?
Suno, baby. A friend, my cousin brought me this cap when TSU. No, man, don't do me like that.
I'm PV true, purple and true.
And there's nothing wrong with that, man. Yeah. I'm all swag, baby. I'm all in the family swag. Yeah. I did a little, stunt, there at TSU for a little while. But here's the funny part about it was, man, PVIL, I looked at a lot of things and I went to a lot of different meetings and things like that. But the thing that got me exposed to it was the Prairie View leagues. Just going to PV one day, and I was just a friend of mine, and we were just walking around, and I was able to look up some of the old, trophies, some of the old organizations that were going on at that particular time. And man, you talking about something that, I could have stayed down there all day.
Well, the tragedy is the good part is that they brought it to the forefront. That they
did.
Did you recognize that the PVIL records were all in a back storage room at Prairie View in one of the buildings that they were getting ready to tear down?
Yes, sir.
And so that's why some of the history of it is fractured.
Really?
Now, while we're sitting here, I got a PV legend that's with me. Sitting right over there, three-time All-American sprint over there, ran for coach.
When he looked at me with the Southern Capital, I was like, I don't know.
And he's a legend here in Dallas from the great James Madison High School. All them great sprint teams that was in the 1980s.
Yeah.
The Pitts brothers and all.
Yeah.
That's the third league in 1981 through 83.
Who's
right sitting over there. Byron Sweat. Anybody know about track and field in Dallas?
Yes. He ran with the Pitt brothers, if I'm not mistaken.
78. Blair came out 78, 79. He came out in 83, but he saw all them.
Man, get out of here, man. And he's laying over there so humble and quiet, man. Didn't know who in the world I'm looking at with these dark shades on.
That's Hoover Wright's boy.
That's Hoover Wright's boy.
He chased that
exactly.
deuce in the quarter. I don't care. He chased it all day long with a smile
Man,
on
Coach
his face.
Wright, man.
Yes,
when
sir.
you ran against
PV.
Coach Wright, yeah. At PV, Miss Jacket, Barbara Jacket. Yep.
Oh, he knows, huh?
Yeah.
You have to be out there to tell that story. Leave Jacket's girls alone.
Hey, man, I heard her one time. No.
And one of her previous sprinters he was dating. So
Man,
she
I was
walked
at
up
the
in class and grabbed him by his
Prairie
collar.
View relays when she hollered down at one of her girls was sitting in the stands. I never will forget this. 1990 or 91, the young lady was sitting in the stands. I guess she forgot. I don't know if she went brain dead or what.
She didn't.
Miss Jacket came by the fence and she looked up and I said, she looking this way. And little did I know, she said something to this young lady. Just like that.
She ended up liking him. Because she had every guy intimidated.
Like,
the girl ran track. I don't care how nice looking she was, how friendly she was. She was like a pariah. Nobody wanted to talk to her because didn't want Coach Jackie walking up in your classroom. He happened to date one of the. She was All-American sprint at the time down at Prairie View.
Not Beverly Humphrey.
Not Beverly Gay. He dated Loretta
Beverly
Washington.
Day, Beverly Day with the Lincoln. And I think she came out like in 74. And she later became Coach Humphrey now. I think it's Humphrey Stadium out there out of Lancaster.
In Lancaster, she's a superintendent out there.
Get out of here. Okay.
Yeah,
I knew it was something. I almost said she was the athletic director, but she's superintendent.
One of the guys that his kids and I grew up together, Coach Fred Allen, who was coach over at Lincoln, was one of her inspirations.
Kenneth, older brother.
That's right. Now you on her folks.
Yeah.
So, in as much he inspired her. And I used to, his wife used to pick us up from school when I was in 8th, 9th, and 10th grade, pick us up and bring us on home. Okay. Because I played ball with his boys. His boys, we all played ball together at school. Okay. Football. And so, but all that being said, she talked about him being her inspiration. I believe that's what it was. And, she had gone to Prairie View. But Prairie View is rich in legacy, man. Rich in history.
Big time.
Not just because I'm an alum there, but because that's just what it was, it was a signature school for African Americans.
It was.
And, I have to often remind some of the TSU alums, and I'm not being funny.
Yeah.
But TSU was started because there wasn't no room at Prairie View for those individuals who went to TSU. So go and get them a school down there in Houston so they can walk to school. Don't even make this trip down here. It ain't worth,
Say don't even come down here.
Don't even come down here. We ain't got nothing for you.
Okay, so, you want to do that to the Burgundy and Gray? We got you. I
got a brother, my oldest brother, who would have been 80. He went to Booker T and played on this state championship team. My brother would have been 80 years old. William Blair III, Sandy. He played quarterback over there. He played against Bubba Smith and all them. When Bubba was down in Beaumont. Yes, sir. My brother went to Texas Southern. He went to Texas. He was down in Texas Southern. When you start talking about this, he ran in the PVIL relays. And then he was down there when he was at Texas Southern. They had Ray Sadler, Bale. TJ Bale, Hines.
Jimmy Hines.
Before you get to Hines, you got to talk about the Artist Barrett.
Well, I can also talk about what's that guy? The light-skinned guy, Bowling. He was track coach down there for a little while. He stuttered. He was a track coach down there. His son later became the track coach at TSU. That's it, Duncan.
Clyde Duncan. His son was a sprinter, played football down there in Houston.
Duncan.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
man, that guy stuttered. And matter of fact, I was trying to get him to recruit when I was coaching track over at Samuel. He was there to recruit. Matter of fact, he was, the thing was he was going to recruit one of my girls. And we went down to the TSU relays when they would that particular year.
Coach Reynolds came over there later.
He came after I did.
Okay, because he
was at Hillcrest.
That's right.
Yeah.
He took some girls to regionals at Hillcrest. He had some good ones. One of the little girls went up to Arkansas, became All-American.
He did.
Yeah, he did a tremendous job up there. Okay, he's gone, rest his soul.
Yeah, he is, man. Coach Reynolds, 2 years now? Yeah, man.
I talk to him every year.
Man, he did a great job, man.
Grambling game.
Yeah, that is right there. Yates win. Yeah, that is. Yeah, Yates win what? Mythical State Championship beating Dallas Lincoln 13-6. Yep. Oh, okay. Your dad would have known something about that, man.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
1939, I think Lincoln got by him. They beat Lincoln in regular season.
Okay.
And then, Lincoln got by him, but it's amazing because none of the history of PVIL is not respected because a lot of those schools that were African-American color schools, segregated schools, are no longer in existence when you start talking about Mineola, Texas, and they got Mineola Dunbar.
Yeah.
You know, what not a lover.
Yeah.
You know, those schools who were black schools, and then once they integrated, those schools absolved, and so they didn't respect the legacy or the history of PVIL. And I wish it is my prayer that they would respect the history and the legacy of PVIL the same way they've come to respect the history of Negro League Baseball, with intertwining those records and respecting the athletic ability and the gift of a Josh Gibson or a Satchel Paige or a Cool Papa Bell or a Larry Doby or a Luke Easter, all of the things that they
Sam Jethro, people like
so
that.
that those guys are Hilton Smith, so that those guys would be respected in the same lights that you go back and respect Babe Ruth or whatnot.
Yeah, Roger Maris, Babe, Roger Maris, you know, so, all those guys, man, that
it's imperative that
what's this guy name? You know, talking about Mickey Mantle. The guy they said was from here, you know, and everything.
He was a good guy. So I said, no disrespect to the legacy of Mickey Mantle, because my father just, you know, he talked about having met Mickey and in those segregated days. You know, the Negro Leagues played the major leagues. Yeah. It was off the record, but they get together.
They played,
it was some players from the major leagues.
It was some serious baseball.
But, you know, here's the tragedy, man. They think that it was because they were so open and they were so open to integration in Major League Baseball that they decided we're going to bring blacks in. I wish people would get that out of their purview of history. Okay. Because that was not the reason. Right. And if Buck O'Neil was living now, you can call Bob Kendricks right now, Negro League Baseball. And if you can't call him, he'll be here for June 19th for the Juneteenth golf tournament. Okay. He's one of my ambassadors. Bob Kendricks, the CEO of Negro League Baseball, Baseball Museum in Kansas City. He would tell you, my dad said this, Uncle Buck and them sat right there in the room at Negro League Baseball, and they talked about integration for Major League Baseball. Didn't come because they wanted to welcome blacks into the sport and make it feel like a ever so convenient country. You know why they did it? I want you to go back and look at the East-West All-Star games from the Negro League Baseball from the 1940s from 1935 to 1942. I mean, 1949. Talk to me. Go back and look at the numbers, the attendance numbers. Then subsequently, for the numbers that you could track, go to all them stadiums like in Birmingham, the oldest wood stadium in the country, Rick Wood Field. Okay. Travel around the country and look at those numbers of attendance. Because you got to recognize when you go through the Negro League Baseball Museum and you take that tour, they got a little spot in there that's a box room that's like a barber shop. It's got everything in there to take you back to the 1930s. And when you start looking at these pictures, you see how me and you dress? You dare not go near the parking lot of a baseball stadium.
You know what? I've seen pictures of that.
They dressed where they would dress.
They would dress immaculate.
Off at 11 to go out there for a 1
They
o'clock
would dress
pitch.
immaculate, man. Absolutely. They had the hats on, the suits. The ladies had on the dress.
Look here, that was the high time of, other than a high society ball event, a ball game coming to your city.
You dressed up, man.
You dressed up. And a lot of the cities they played in was offbeat cities. So they could go drum up support, but they didn't have to drum it up. They sold out. White people, Caucasians, with Major League Baseball, Branch Rickey and all of them, even prior to that, they dabbled with it prior to Jackie Robinson going in. Because they went down there to get who? Barney Sorrells. They went to get Barney Sorrells when they got Jackie. Let's tell the truth. Yeah. If we want our history told, let's tell the truth.
So what happened to that?
They went to get Barney Sorrells. Barney Sorrells, hands down, from what my father, Buck O'Neil, Sweet Connie Johnson, sitting right there in the room at Negro League Baseball Museum in Kansas City. My brother and I sitting over on the side with Bob Kendrick, because we can't sit at the table with them. They give us our food on the side. All right. This is royalty sitting at the table, and we were okay with it because we were just in the room to snippet it. But they went to get Barney Sorrells. Okay. You know why they didn't get Barney Sorrells? No, give it to me. Let me give you the sale on Jackie Robinson. Jackie Robinson went to school in California. Okay. Not segregated. He went to UCLA. He dealt with white folks. He was integrated with them. Barney Sorrells, African American. I forget where Mr. Sorrells was from. Grew up in the South, poor and impoverished, segregated, endured all of the racism above and beyond. And what's the difference in a player in the league and a player not in the league who's got talent? Temperament. Barney Sorrells didn't have the temperament. What Jackie Robinson endured, they knew Barney Sorrells gonna go in the stand to get somebody. He wasn't taking it. If the white guys had done that to him trying to touch base, he wasn't having it. He's gonna whoop them. Yeah, he's not gonna have it. What they didn't flip no coin. They looked at how well the egg was cooked. Oh, that eggs cooked a little hard. That's a soft fry. We'll take this one here. And that's how Jackie Robinson went. Not to say he was he wasn't talented enough to get there. He out of the two, he was the lesser of the two evils. Evil
and that
being
makes sense.
black.
That makes sense now.
That's how he got there.
But the movie doesn't show you that because
no, they're not going to tell you
and
that.
You know, and I understand that's Hollywood. That's
Our
a
history
movie.
is never told in
it's
in
always
adequate,
diluted when it goes to Hollywood. It's always diluted
because it never shows
you know,
the mental aptitude or the mindset of the writer or the history of it.
Right.
It shows how they want to present it to you.
Okay.
I mean, that's just where we are. That's why we getting in trouble, not getting in trouble, but we're being challenged on being woke and critical race theory. It's not that we went and created that history. We honoring it. We recognizing if you want to keep up General Lee posters and General Lee statues, then why can't we talk about the history of what General Lee and all of those
what they stood for?
What they stood for?
Yeah, the grounds that they stood on. Those were the grounds. That's mentality at that time.
Right.
That's the way they thought. None of this was built on you to be free.
You can't hide the none of this.
And I tell young people all the time, none of this was governed for you to be free. Hey. The mindset was always for you to be what? A slave, a servant.
Okay.
That was the mindset. None of this was for you to be free.
That's the mindset.
That's just the way it was.
We understand that the more you put up resistance to something, the more people gravitate to it. I'm gonna give you an example, and then we'll get back to talking about Born at Surreals and Jack in Negro League Baseball.
Hey man, take your time.
If you got a daughter and she dating a little fella, and you tell her, now she might respect and love you, but if she thinks she love this little fella, and the more you do to run him away and mash on him short of killing him, she gonna sneak around and do everything she can. And the more resistance you put up, the more effort they gonna put in.
Yeah.
So I'm saying this, about critical race theory and education and them telling our history for us. The more resistance you put up to showing, telling the truth about our history that we really know, and you went and sideswiped it, then the more effort we're going to put into finding out, understanding, and knowing it, and then putting it out there for our kids and our children to know, and our peers to know.
And they need to know that, because they need to understand what's diluting this. What's retarding you from. And that's the word I'm using. Yeah, that's the word I picked up.
That's the joy. That's the
joy. That's what that's what you're seeing now, because this is what they're giving you.
Right.
And the whole linguistics of it, we don't know.
They want to make him this Yankee Doodle down and macaroni in your hat. They're not really telling what he really went through. Then you come on down the road. Let's come a little further down the road, away from Negro League Baseball.
Well, he said he bit his tongue.
Right.
The original, not original. The Jackie Robinson said he bit his tongue several times. Several times he went inside the locker room to deal with his teammates.
Right.
He said, man, he picked up a bat and was going to go in one time and deal with a cat.
Absolutely.
That said some derogatory things to him.
He experienced that, and temperament was the mitigating tool to bring you in or keep you out. Then, and you look at what he dealt with.
Right.
Now, if it was, as they put it on TV, so easy for him to transition through Major League Baseball, let's push forward into the 1960s.
Let's go.
And you go start talking about integration in like the Southwest Conference when Jerry Levias went to SMU.
He was just here last Thursday.
Horrible story.
Yes.
About being there and the fact that he was able to release on the field. That's why they got the beast they got on the field, because of what he endured in the classroom and prior to getting on the field. Yeah, they would set him in a section by himself. Absolutely. And here's a guy that had offers from UCLA, USC, because his cousins, the Farr brothers, were at UCLA. Mel Farr, and Miller Farr, his folks. All his folks, and the Smith brothers. Well, Bubba went to Michigan State, right? And Junior, they called him Willie Ray Jr. He went to ended up going to Iowa State. He was at Kansas with Gale, or either at Iowa State. I get the story kind of mixed up. And but they were there 1 year together, right? And he tore up his knee. But all those guys out of Beaumont, Texas, South Texas, Beaumont, Chardon Pollard, Beaumont, man, and coached by Willie Ray Smith Sr. Bubba's daddy, Toadie's daddy, and Willie Ray Jr. Beaver. They call him Beaver, his daddy. But the funny part about that whole thing, Levias never painted anything that was a negative picture. No kind of glamour about him going to SMU. He said his grandmother, when Hayden Fry came, his grandmother asked him a question. He said, the only thing that I can offer your son is an education. He didn't say what education. Now, he never came out and say education on life.
what is being, how life is, treating him right now. I'm looking back, this was like 1966. In 1965, I remember going to the stadiums in Houston, Robinson Stadium with my uncle and people don't even believe this, watching the Houston Oilers play against the Dallas Cowboys in a preseason game. Right. It was in 1965. And I'm like, man, this stadium don't look too much better than the Cotton Bowl, but that's what was existing at the time. But getting back to that, Jerry Levias never, ever painted a glamorous picture about him going this. He would go sneak off to South Dallas just to see, he said at the time, some blackness. Yeah.
But you speak of all of the obstacles and all of the things that these guys experience with regards to having come up and, play ball at a segregated time and then being the lead on the integration. You look at it, and I want you to contrast that to modern day athletes who come in, who are privileged, who are prima donnas, who are divas.
I can do that. I can do that right now.
The difference in those guys and these guys are?
Yeah.
My father told me, he said, Daryl, your talent will take you places your character can't sustain you.
Michael Irvin.
Your talent will take you
and I don't like to say this.
No. I want you to get into that one.
Yeah.
But your talent will take you places your character won't sustain you. And when you get there, your talent can't outrun your character because whatever it's gonna beat you there and meet you there.
Man, that guy, I woke up every morning to listening to your father. Every morning, and I hate to say it, even before I, made peace with the world, before I fell on my knees and made peace with the world,
absolutely.
I heard your father. Your father gave me a lot of information that I never even really thought existed.
Right.
That was history in itself within the few segments that he had on the radio before, it came on to Willis. And I'm not saying, anything else about it, but to me, that was the high point of my day.
Well, I'm huh? Oh, you talking about Negro League graduates? Yeah, college graduates. Oh, he just talked about, speaking to that character issue. These guys, when they played Negro League, and a lot of them was college graduates. And if they weren't college graduates, they come from the military. They had the discipline. And then, a lot of Negro League players, especially down in Alabama and Georgia, the Atlanta Black Crackers, the Birmingham Black Barons, those were ex-military guys, or some of them were even pilots.
Okay.
Yeah,
very highly intelligent guys.
Sir. You can go back and look at the track record of these guys. They weren't just people who came off a farm.
Okay.
These were educated individuals. And so when they came back to society, they didn't come back with the hefty contracts. They made good money for them. And I want to say this. My father, we talked one day. I asked him when I was up there with Uncle Buck and Daddy. I sat in the room with Jordan and my brother Jordan. And I said, Daddy, were y'all ever angry that y'all wasn't playing in the majors? My dad and Uncle Buck almost in tandem said, heck no. Wasn't jealous at all. We knew we was better ball players than any one of them.
Okay.
And look here. Then they said, but we didn't get the opportunity. We didn't care. You know why? Because we had a league of our own and we were royalty everywhere we went.
And they knew they could play.
They knew they could play. So
they could compete on any level.
They went. They didn't that didn't matter to them. They just wanted the opportunity to compete against those guys to show that their athletic skills and their gift was not as that far superb than theirs. Matter of fact, ours exceeded theirs on a natural level.
That's great, man. This stuff right here, and I love hearing this stuff, man. This is stuff I can't.
This is not a conversation
you can read books all day and it becomes somebody else's story. You can read information from the newspaper. You can get articles. You can look up on a lot of this stuff, and they got the modern day technology now. Mm-hmm. But this stuff right here, man, hearing it from the horse's mouth, this is something, man, I love.
Okay,
I love this stuff.
We're just talking about. People telling our story, right?
It becomes their story. If we don't tell it, it becomes theirs. They don't.
Well, I'm gratified to look in this book and I see that they got about 6 to 8 pages dedicated to Minnie Minosa. You got Minnie Minosa's one of Suitcase Simpson here, but you were showing me this book, Crossing the Line, and it's the Black Major Leaguers from 1947 to 1959. It's really, I understand that people by them, Larry Murphy and Jonathan Kronstadt,
right,
did a piss poor job of research and going to the source and finding out who all the players were, if they participated and whatnot in the league. you know, because I look in there, I don't see my dad's name in there, and I don't see Hilton Smith's name in there. So I go from my father, who was a player from 1946 to 1951 and a one-time All-Star. And then I look in here, and Hilton Smith was a 6-time All-Star, and his name is not in here. But this is the idea, and this is
somebody else telling the story.
Somebody else telling our story.
Somebody else telling the story.
His story and his story. That's not our story.
Exactly. That's somebody telling the story, huh?
Diablo, El Diablo, Willie Wells. Governor Perry signed the legislation for them to have him in the cemetery, the state cemetery, and honor his grave. Yep, the El Diablo, the base stealer.
Really?
You know, this. Let me
tell me the story on that.
Willie Wells was a great base stealer in Negro League Baseball.
Okay.
El Diablo. He retired back to
Austin. That's what they called it.
Yeah, El Diablo, the thief, the devil, baseball devil. Yep,
really?
Sure did. Well, he got him in here. Okay. See, that's kind of easy, but I don't know how you miss a Hilton Smith. I don't know how you miss a John Muse Mile.
Okay.
They call him Mew. Hit a ball like a Mew kick.
Wow.
And this guy, he came over here playing a golf tournament. Uncle Mule was what? 83, 84? He hitting the golf ball. He didn't want to go play the senior tees.
Okay.
84, he's hitting the ball 280 yards.
At 84 years old.
Say, man, he's hitting that ball, partner. So my brother and I, we hear them talking about it. My brother Jordan and my brother Robert, we all hop on golf carts. Okay. We sat down and watched him on the tee box and measured it off. And on 3 par 4 drives or par 5 drives, we went to 3 holes with him. Watch him hit his driver. And what I'm saying is he had that kind of gift. You know, and he was an all-star, and then the Tuskegee Airman, and then he was an assistant park director in San Antonio. I don't know if it was Bexar County or the city of San Antonio, but he was down there for almost 40 years. And this is what he come back and give to the community and pour into that community. You know, as an individual who had been somewhere and wanted to come back and give kids and those growing up
an opportunity
to have a purview of what's before them or to experience some things. Not in there.
At all.
So you can't tell me my history.
No.
Bob Burns probably does the best job of any of them of eloquently stating or doing the most significant job of highlighting the history of Negro League baseball or blacks in baseball, as they call it, blackball.
Wow. And man, you know what? This is something that you can't buy. This is something that, you know, you have to invest knowledge in by listening to it.
That's right.
And man, that's the thing that
John Mule Miles not in here.
You know, after your dad passed away, I said, who's going to tell this story? That's what I was thinking. Mm-hmm. That was my theory, my understanding. Mm-hmm. Who's going to tell the story now? Because he would come on, you know, every now and then and sit and talk, you know, with Roger B. them, or, you know, whoever was giving a panel on, you know, the Negro Leagues at that time. He would come and talk. He would sit and talk. They said, well, hell, you can't have anything if Mr. Blair's not here. You know, you got to have him here. And he would come. And man, and I always wondered, you know, sometimes I wondered out loud, who's going to tell that story when he's not here?
You know what I want to say, man? If I could say this to anybody.
Yeah, you can say it.
In the audience or in the viewing audience. I want to say this to you about your family. Not about the significance of your family being recognized, honored, high esteemed, you know, none of that. It's simply about being around your elders in your family. Right. And let me speak from experience. I mean, from experience. I'm 57 years old, going on 58.
Okay.
I had my father for 50 years of my life. Mm-hmm. I had my mother for 51 years of my life. And but having my father for those 50 years and for the latter part, that latter 15 that we were really synced at the hip in terms of working. I want you all to embrace your elders when you're with them. I loathed, not loved, loathed what my father said. I loathed seeing him every day at the office because I was always in for a chastisement. But my father was not putting me down. It was a challenge to me not to rest on your laurels. Something you accomplished great today. Yeah. Okay, fella. Okay, that's a good thing. Now let's go on to the next one. And my whole thing was as a smart aleck and, you know, knowing everything, I didn't say that to him. Right. But I want to celebrate this. I accomplished this, you know. I'm this is my thing. And his thing was, you better be prepared for whatever catastrophe that takes place in the next hour, 15 minutes.
Wow.
You better be able to adjust. And I didn't appreciate my father. And I would have people tell me about respecting and honoring my dad. And I honored him and respected him.
Right.
But I just loathed it. Going to the office, he chastised me because we opened at 8. He got there at 8, but we didn't open till 10. But you can't let people be better at doing your business than you do and stuff like that. And what I'm saying is, it's not a day that goes by since my father passed that he does not speak from the grave. It's something that he said to me and that he echoed to me time and time again, that every day I have to lean on the wisdom of what he said and how to deal with it or how not to deal with it.
Right.
So take advantage of, your elders being there. Not every day is not going to be gravy, but take that bad day with the greater days, because knowing one day that you're going to have to rely on what it is that they poured into you on both days.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's essential, man.
Man, it's a blessing. And like I said, man, it was something that I didn't take for granted. And I didn't know your dad like that. You know that. I didn't know your dad. I knew him.
No, I don't. I can't say that I knew that. I don't know. So many people knew my dad.
I listened to him and
he had relationships with him.
Right.
That I didn't, some people used to walk up to me and say, yeah, me and your dad. I look at him. And then my mother say, baby, he done a lot of things with a lot of people that we don't know. We don't know if it's good or bad, but your dad is supported or, helped take care of a lot of people that he didn't brag about it. That was the point that she was making. He didn't brag about it. So, when I hear people tell me, I just kind of have to listen to the sentimental part of it to understand that they did have some significant relationship with my dad. And I appreciate it. So when they tell me I knew your father, I say, thank you for the respect.
Right.
Thank you for the memory. And I go on with that. So, I'm grateful for it. But every day, it's a challenge to me when I get up that what I live on and what I work towards is not of mine. It's not mine. It's what my father left me and what I have to leave for my grandkids. I'm simply existing in the thread.
Yeah.
I'm thriving in the thread. Let's put it that way, not existing, thriving. So that deal.
Now that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's very intelligent. And that makes sense because it's so significant that I was listening to Tom Joyner say the same thing.
Right.
When they was asking him why he wasn't with the Commodores, they all went to ski together.
Right.
He says dad told him, no, you got to get out that car and you got to go to work. What you're doing and what you're thinking about doing, that's not important. Mm-hmm. Important thing is getting up every day, going to work. He said that's why he works so hard and people were calling him the fly jock. Mm-hmm. And I was listening to his story, like I said, about a couple of weeks ago. And he was saying, I thought that's what you're supposed to do. A man only supposed to get a certain amount of hours of sleep and then get up and go to work. Mm-hmm. He said, it's just what men do. Mm-hmm. And it hit me to the point to where
old Bob Kendrick.
That's him.
One of the dapperest dressing fellas I ever seen. Dressed like a Philadelphia lawyer when he go to the bathroom.
That's him.
Old clean Bob Kendrick. Yes, you
got to go to. Okay.
My father's on the board of governors.
On the board of governors.
He's on the board of governors. Name's still on the plate up there.
Hey man, got to go.
Yeah.
Got to go.
I've taken my kids. You sure have. You sure have. Yeah, I've taken my kids up there. I've began to make it my mission that every year I go, I take some of my kids. For the last 2 times we gone, we've taken our kids.
Okay.
For them to see the significance and his grandkids, my kids, his grandkids, to see what their grandfather. It was more than just what happened here in Dallas.
Yeah.
He had an effect somewhere else. And
all over the world.
You don't start big, you start small and it grows. So let them know you start from scratch somewhere. Granddad just, it's funny how one little white ball took him so many places to engage so many people, to affect so many lives.
Like I say,
that one little white ball.
Like I say, I woke up every morning, to listen to what he had to say. Uh-huh. Whether I could adapt to it or couldn't adapt to it.
Okay.
But it was the respect to give him to listen, to at least listen to what's being said, and then you could take it and say I can adapt to it or I can't adapt to it. But the respect part of it is to always, and it goes back to what you were saying with with our elderly, with my mom, and she's like, hey, she's proud to say, she knew Ernie. Right. She's proud to say she knew certain people
are good
during
character.
her time. Yeah, that's the key. She's proud to say that, and she doesn't say that with a mean face. You can see the joy that comes over her. Okay. And this is the thing that I think about, and I say, you know what? Hey, this is the legacy that you really got to work to step. If you're gonna step up to that plate, you got to work.
Hey man,
it's just like you stepping in front of that pitcher and he's coming, who he is, and you stepping in that batter's box. Hey, you better be prepared to go. You better be prepared to whatever pitch he's throwing at you.
That's right. That's what.
And that's what life throws you.
Man, I heard you say earlier that you Woodrow Wilson, you old East Dallas boy.
Yes.
You're from the bricks.
Yeah.
And so
I stayed up street on Dolphin Road from the bricks.
Oh, okay then.
From Mill, what they call the Mills projects at one particular time.
So, I you sat up there and you talked about Tim Brown, who was in my era.
Right.
Being a Heisman Trophy winner. And then you went way beyond.
Yep.
In the earlier years before us in the 30s, Davey O'Brien being a Heisman Trophy winner.
Yep.
And, I'm trying to understand why you hadn't gone back into the history of Woodrow Wilson, because it just didn't exist with Tim Brown as blacks related.
Here's the deal.
You got to go back and talk about
the deal. Okay.
brothers. You got to talk about William Lister.
Well,
come on now.
Here's the deal on that.
Give them their card.
Okay, here's the deal on that. John Powell and I used to play the football together almost just like every Sunday at Owen Roberts Elementary School.
Talk, son, talk.
That's where we were. We wasn't at Owen Roberts playing football. We were up at Tennyson Park.
Right.
You can call it Tennyson Park. Wow. You can call it Samuel Park. Okay. Whatever you want to call it. Okay. We would go up there and play football. Him and John, his brother, not John Ray, his brother, John Powell's brother.
Right. They were twins.
No, they wasn't. Donald Ray. Okay. Donald Ray came out in '69 from Madison.
Just calling them Quantum twins.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And 1971, that's when John Powell came. True story. John Powell, one day, I remember my senior year in high school, 1975. We were getting our tux. Me and a friend of mine. My father took off of work and said, "Okay, I'm gonna take you up to Al's Formal Wear," which at that particular time was off of Garland Road.
Al's Formal Wear?
Yes. No, not Al's Formal Wear. It was it was Al Formal's Wear.
Okay, well, Al's Formal Wear was Caucasian on. When you said Formal,
it was.
Mr. Formal,
it was.
Who was owned by Mr. Ingram, the first black tuxedo company, rental company that was here in Dallas.
Not Mr. Ingram. Not Mr. John Ingram.
Okay.
This way it was. It was right there, matter of fact, off of Garland Road.
Okay.
Right there off of Buckner, where Buckner intersect Garland Road.
Right.
So we were riding down the street, and this arm was hanging out the window. This massive arm was hanging out the window. And so my partner said, "Damn, who is that?" I said, "Oh, man, chill out, man." I said, "That's John Powell, man." And John Powell looked over at the car and said, "Man, why y'all ain't in school?" And he recognized me, man. And he said, "Man, why you ain't in school, man?" I said, "Hey, man, we came, to get our tux from." Make a long story short, I knew the young lady that he married to, Stephanie.
Okay.
All of that, man. The Skinner brothers. Yeah. We all grew up playing football together. John Powell, mom worked at Cascade, which was right up the street off of Exposition around the Farrell Park area, where you can go get you some free. Our parents would go get free, detergent, laundry stuff, and things like that. That's where they worked at. Mm-hmm. And it was amazing to me when John Powell went to Tyler Junior College, became All-American linebacker. He said, "Man, I didn't want to play no freaking running back no more." Mm-hmm. He said, "I was tired of getting hit." And John Powell, that particular year, his senior year, had rushed for 1,400, 1,500 yards. Yeah. Couldn't nobody stop John Powell. Right. John Powell about 6'1", 220. Right. Run you about a 4.5 40. So you couldn't stop this guy. That was big. And Donald Ray would come, when Donald Ray left Madison, he was a pulling guard for John Powell. And this white guy was telling me, he said, "Man, every time I looked up, Donald Ray was in my chest." And he said, when I looked up and saw John, then he said, I looked up and tried to get him off of me. Here comes John Powell. He said, man, it was amazing how those guys worked and synced together. Mm-hmm. And remember, they had high school football every Friday night on Channel 11.
Didn't know that. But what I wanted, and the reason why
Cobb Stadium.
The reason why I brought that up, I played at PC Cobb one of the last games before they shut it down. I was at South Oak Cliff.
Okay.
We played my 9th grade year, and we played North Dallas there. But let me get back to this point.
Okay.
I brought that up, and I did that to you because you did go to Woodrow Wilson. And I want people to recognize, there's a couple of things I want them to recognize in bringing that up. All black history in the city of Dallas is not related to Madison, Roosevelt, Lincoln, South Oak Cliff.
No.
In those schools.
No.
Those brothers from over there in East Dallas, they accomplished some things. And you got people like, you got, in the latter days, you got Kenyon Martin, who went to Bryan Adams, but you got another brother, I see him all the time, he's good friends, Ronnie Robinson, who played football at Bryan Adams High School, University of Texas. Yeah. So that we have a significance in sports history everywhere. And I wanted to make
look at Wiley Turner.
Yes,
absolutely. Who ran a 9.3 in a 100-yard dash. And Wiley did that his junior year, and Wiley went to W.T. White.
That's right.
Left Pinkston after the 9th grade,
well,
and ended up going to W.T. White.
Of them from over there.
Oh yeah,
what year was that Wiley did that?
In 1975,
okay, so Wiley
75.
was over there at the same time that the white guy Wayne Johnson was over there.
Wayne came out in 78, and Wayne went to University of Texas.
That's right.
And Wayne was like, man, he was a beast.
Yes.
But people didn't even know Wiley was a beast. Tim Proctor, Wiley, Turner, Lockhart.
Yep.
They had a 4x1 relay. And here's the funny part about it.
A lot of kids matriculated from Pinkston over to W.T. White.
They did.
Pulled them. Yeah.
My track coach, which was Lucius Newhouse, who was John Newhouse' older brother, that
John
won
Newhouse
2 gold medals. You didn't let me get it out. I'm just going to get it out my mouth. I'm just going to say it. PV alone, 2-time Olympian.
Right.
That's right. That was he coached me in track, Coach Newhouse. Okay. And Coach Newhouse, when we graduated.
Newhouse's brother.
Yeah. In 1971, we won the city championship in the mile relay at Robert T. Hill. Wow. So you're right. It don't really, some of it has bypassed, the black schools, and we ended up, because heck, I had no idea I was going to, Robert T. Hill. Had no idea I was running, for Coach Newhouse, who was, by the way, Robert Newhouse, older cousin.
That's right.
That played for the Dallas Cowboys, number 44 in your program, that played at University of Houston.
And so let this be a warning, because I want to remind some folks, we might get out here and run by a track. Now, I got my grandkids coming over today.
Okay.
But red alert, I want to say this because this conversation existed last night.
Right.
If you were born before the 1970s, really if you were born before 1975, 76, quit telling folks that you are from Lancaster, Texas, DeSoto, and all points. Because you weren't.
No.
If we were in those areas in the 1980s, we went too far past Shamrock on Lancaster.
Yep.
And we was in the dog land.
Yep.
If we went out that far in Lancaster, we were going past Cedar Valley once they put it out there in the 90s.
Sure was.
If you stopped in DeSoto, it's because you went by the jailhouse for whatever reasons, involuntarily or voluntarily. You on Beltline, but you were going through there to Waxahachie or all points south.
Yep.
If you were in Duncanville, you were on your way out 20. And they hadn't quite drawn the lines.
Exactly.
Or you were going out 67. And who goes out 67 at that time? Because wasn't no Negroes going to Cleburne or coming from.
And I knew I was.
They went to Fort Worth.
Yep.
Meadows.
Wow.
The Meadows family. Yeah. They owned all that. So please stop that. If you're from South Dallas, Bear Street, and all in the bottoms over in West Dallas, take your kids where you come from and let them see that they emanate what they've grown from, and that they weren't grown middle class. They didn't grow up out there. They didn't come from there. Their family came from those areas. Don't be ashamed of it. Be proud of it, because you accomplished something to get from those points to where you are. Yeah. I have to say that because I'm so sick of people doing that.
Well, they do that all the time. And you look at the news media, the media, I don't know why I said news media. The media does that all the time. They cripple us with that type of knowledge.
Okay, I had to put that out there. That's been burning on me.
They cripple us all the time with that. No.
That 12,000 that they put in Sprague Stadium that was supposed to go in our 10,000 since 12. That when South Oak Cliff, this was in my days, it didn't have to be the Oak Cliff Super Bowl or the South Dallas Super Bowl.
Right.
When Kimball played Carter, when Carter played Sock, when Sock played Roosevelt, when Roosevelt played Madison, they had to put bleachers on the track for the band to fit them in there. And better yet, they go out and play Low Stadium to get them in there, to be able to fit people in. All those big attendance games, that was nothing. That's what amazes me in this day and age, that you can go to a game, man, and it's sparsely attended, a high school varsity game for DISD school. I don't care when I was in high school, if we was playing Adamson and they was 0-99.
It was going to be packed.
It was going to be packed. It was going to be packed. Our parents came to see us, and our siblings, and then our classmates. We didn't have nothing to do. I guess it's so much to do with social media and all this other stuff in this day and age.
Same thing at Woodrow.
We played Woodrow in 1982 out at Franklin Field. And we played Tim then.
Right.
And Tim then were 0-1.
Yeah.
They had a tied game again. They tied. Guess what? That year they were 0-2. No, they were 0-2 because they tied us, and we were second in district that year. We played them at Franklin Field. Tim Brown returned a punt.
Yep.
Returned a kickoff and ran a reverse on us. And I was on field for two of those plays. So, I mean, I can say that now. I never wanted to own that, getting on that bus heading back to the school. They tied us 21-21. But my point is, the stadium was packed. And Woodrow Wilson didn't have Jack, but they had great
Tim
support.
Brown.
They had Tim Brown.
And Deion Brown. And that was it.
Hold on, they had the other guy, Paul Jackson.
Paul Jackson and Deion. Deion was split time at quarterback and running back. And Tim, coach, at that time, oh, man, what is coach? I think his name is Coach Miller. And he said himself, he said, Tim Brown. He said, I always looked around on the bus. He said, and I knew if Tim Brown went on that bus, I'm not getting on that bus. He later went to Rockwall and started coaching football.
Say, man.
But he said he had to have, and you're right. That year, they was only like winning 2 or 3 games.
What it was.
That's all.
Granted,
Woodrow didn't have anybody.
We didn't even tie our shoestrings up to get on the field.
No.
Come on, son, stop. Take a time out.
Yeah.
Tie your shoestrings up. Oh, coach, this is Woodrow Wilson.
Yeah.
Oh, you got a chin strap over there?
Yep.
Let me use your chin strap.
Yep.
So, and then they tied us. But, I remember when Tim saw me in River and Mall, I come home. I was at Prairie View. That was my freshman because Tim, you finished the year behind me.
Uh-huh.
So I come home. Michael Cannon was a world-class runner out of South.
Marlon Cannon, his younger brother.
Yeah, but Mike is the one put it in work. Don't give him all
TCU?
the credit over Mike. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Mike, we come home, we at Redbury Mall, and I look up, man, and here's Tim walking. So,
Yeah.
I played against you. I know you're good, but when he made this next statement, I'm going to tell you how I responded. So like, man, what you going to do, man? Where you going to school? We came home for Christmas, so, football season. No, he said, man, I think I'm going to go to, it's between Texas, but I think I'm going to Notre Dame. He said, I'm going to Notre Dame. It was between Texas and Notre Dame. I'm going to Notre Dame. Mike Cannon standing right here. He go to TCU. I'm in Prairie View, right?
Right.
So I look back at Tim. I say, what Notre Dame? Notre Dame Canisius or something? Some small school of Division 3? I did. Because I didn't take that. He said, no, Blair, I'm going to Notre Dame, South Bend. I was like, when I walked away.
Right.
I'm at Prairie View, and that year, you all were playing Alcorn on TV. I think it was the year of the strike or something. And so they had football, black college football on ABC. I'm in the dorm, and
who played that year?
USC was playing Notre Dame.
Okay.
And they say back to receive the punt.
Tim Brown.
Tim Brown from Dallas Woodrow Wilson. Excited freshman. And I'm going, we didn't have cell phones then. I get on my dorm room phone and call back up to TCU. Mm-hmm. I say, Mike, man, you're not going to believe this one.
Yep.
Tim Brown really did go to Notre Dame. He was playing because the whole
and he's returning punts.
And look here, he took it to the house. Looked like when he waved. I mean, when he got to the, he's not a celebratory guy.
No,
he gets to the end zone and he waved. I felt like he was waving to me like, "See, I told you, I told you." I mean, he wasn't, and I joked with him about that. Boy, look at here,
man, Tim.
Yeah.
The only school in Texas that ever fly to a high school playoff game. Not Allen, not no white school. Tell me who I told you was.
Carter High School?
No, the high school that flew to a playoff game in Texas. Only school ever. Dallas South Cliff.
Oh, sure did. When Ricky West was the quarter, Alcee Jackson.
That's when they called back 5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
They called back 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, Wayne Morris was starting running back?
I was there. I couldn't appreciate that game.
Yeah.
It was so cold.
Wow.
Hot chocolate turned into ice.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I'm drinking hot chocolate. My mom was just getting hot. I could drink all the hot chocolate I wanted. Of course, we stopped probably at about 6 exits every 20 miles because we had to drop it. That hot chocolate didn't run through us.
Yeah.
And my dad was getting mad. And my mom said, "Do you want it in the car in the bathroom, Bill?" Because look here, we was drinking hot. My sister was in the drill team. My sister Michelle was in the drill team then. And the next year, they had segregation and sent her to Carter. She said she wasn't going to be in the drill team no more, but she was in the drill team. I didn't know that.
You did. No, Spider told me that. Spider told me that. We listened to the game on the radio.
Man, I'm going to call Ricky
my father was looking for that. Yeah.
Called him up, Ricardo Ray. No, man, y'all really flat now. I'm just joking. Yeah, those guys, man.
Wow, ain't that something?
They used to be at our house a lot too.
Did they?
Yeah.
Quick Draw McGraw, all those guys.
Quick Draw McGraw and all of them.
Yeah.
Wayne Morris, Coach Sample would come down there. Raymond Brown went to Roosevelt.
Roosevelt, yeah.
He's a linebacker at Roosevelt.
Tennessee State.
Yeah. He was the one that Jackie Wilson replaced for the Bears. Singletary.
Yeah.
That's right. That's how bad he was. He played against Woodrow.
Yeah, he did.
He played against them.
Yeah, because he came out in 71 with my sister-in-law.
No play.
71, yeah.
He's putting the lick on them from the boys. Quit playing, man.
Yeah, he was a bad boy now.
I was a little fella, but I still get the story.
Hey, man, we, like I said, man, I was caught like in the middle.
Stop right there. In 1984, after a night of partying and revelry, we kicking it around Prairie View. This fella right over here, Byron Sweat, hung out with us till 4 a.m. He laid down for 30 minutes and he got him say, I got a track meet. I got to go meet Coach Wright at 6, but we got to eat breakfast at 5. Well, we've been up kicking it all night. You know, we need to get some fellas in us, and we at Prairie View, so we use our car to go over to the chow hall to eat. So while we at the chow hall eating, he said he gone on eating, he gone on over to the track meet, so he had prelims. And so me and my other brother, we said, man, me and my other partner, roommate, we said, well, man, let's go on over to the stadium and see what they're gonna do.
Right.
After a party, he set record at 200 and 400 meters. He did at the Prairie View.
Couldn't stop it. Wow.
Then came on back over there and told us, come on, man, let's go on back to the dorm and kick it.
Wow.
I was like, man, that's crazy.
Man, that is crazy.
At Prairie View relays. Yeah.
And man, ain't that something?
But we got all the great facilities now.
Oh, you do?
From there to
you do.
Is great.
Yeah, you do.
Running in Blackshear Field and then just having a track stadium and then having a football stadium is great. Prairie View is a great existence, man. But that's not to diminish any other HBCU.
Right.
But can you explain to people too what's the reason with A&M and Prairie View?
The difference between Prairie View and A&M is the border regions. My dad's father went to Prairie View and they had a principal. That's when they used to have a principal. Prairie View had started with a principal. The school, yeah. So go look it up. They had a principal.
No. I'm listening to what you said. I didn't know that.
Was there at that time, and Prairie View's principal president, when they would go down to the state legislature to go meet as presidents at a university, all the black schools couldn't go in there. Prairie View was a black state school. They couldn't go in there. They had to sit outside the door and let them get them a note or come out and announce to them what the meeting was about and what had been accomplished. So now that Prairie View is part of the Texas A&M school system, A&M always used the money to facilitate Texas A&M at one point until state's representatives of Sophronia Thompson and all those others came and challenged the state of Texas about the divvying up of that money. But it really happened when Governor Clements was the governor, and he came down to Prairie View, and he had a pair of nice shoes on.
Okay.
Prairie View didn't have sidewalks. We had to walk around. I was there at that time. They would tell you, don't wear your good shoes or your good tennis, get you a pair of combat boots. So you have a suit on. You see a whole bunch of fellas with suits on with combat boots. You know why? Because we're going to have to walk across that campus and tear your shoes
I didn't know that.
Governor
Clements I said, man, why these guys? I came down there one time. I'm like, why these guys walking around there like that?
So Governor Clements comes down there. He's got a brother with him, a fellow with him who is one of his top aides. His name was Joe Curvin. You know why Joe Curvin?
I know Joe from Dallas.
Joe Curvin, a quarter miler from Dallas, Texas.
Yeah.
Was sitting on the governor's committee. He was one of his aides. He came down and he told him, he said, they're going to get some doggone sidewalks down here before I come back down here, and I'm going to make it happen. Went over there and asked him didn't go over there and ask, but found out what was going on with the money. So by that time, Sophronia Thompson started making an issue out of Houston.
Okay.
These guys started making an issue out of this about the money, what was coming on with Prairie View and the Board of Regents, because Prairie View's engineering students would go out perform Texas A&M engineering students with old equipment that they had gotten from A&M. A&M got the latest edition. Prairie View's outperforming them, Purdue and all the Georgia Tech and all others at these deals. Now, what they did was they made it right. They started giving Prairie View their rightful portion of the money from the Board of Regents, from the state of Texas and education fund. And that's how Prairie View has come about now. But they had to fight. Texas Southern.
So it wasn't existing for Prairie View at one time.
Texas Southern got their own Board of Regents. They're not under U of H. They're not under it. They got their own Board of Regents for Texas Southern. Prairie View at one point wanted that. And I mean, I wouldn't mind having it, but I think the system, the way it works now, works out fairly, because when you go on Prairie View's campus, it's probably one of the most eloquent campuses.
It is, man.
I've been all over the country to a lot of, not all, but to a lot of the big white schools in Prairie View. Look, I've been to University of Wisconsin. I've been to LSU. I've been down on those campuses. And when I go to Prairie View, I say they rival all of them. I've been on USC campus, but it's being particeled out. You know, I've been on those campuses.
It's amazing, man.
Been on UCLA's campus. It's all hidden in the hills. You know, you get the beauty of the hills, but you don't get the eloquence of all of this being brought together. Prairie View is laid out on that land, on that prairie, beautifully laid out, and I love it.
Wow.
And you just don't get no better. I've been to Alabama A&M. My money went to Hampton. You know, my money went to Clark University. Clark, Atlanta. All that. Been to Southern. No, not putting them down. They've done a great job of turning around. You know, when you're down in Atlanta in the student union, down in the University Center, and you're walking across the promenade, beautiful thing to watch all those universities connect and engage one another. But Prairie View, I'm so proud of what they have accomplished. I hate the president stepped down, retired, or stepped back, Dr. Simmons. I want to applaud you for what you accomplished in your time there. You did a great work. and you elevated Prairie View to new levels. But you know, university and education goes on. It doesn't stop at one
It doesn't.
You know what they said when the monkey got his tail cut?
No, tell me.
Won't be long now. So it won't be long now. That's what it was. Prairie View State Normal and Industrial College.
Wow. Normal.
Well, you know, they had some other schools that was Negro Normal School. Alabama A&M Negro Normal School. Yeah.
They just said normal, huh?
Negro Normal.
They give you
normal Negroes they went. Yeah, they was normal
Hey,
Negroes.
y'all, this has been, man, you got to come back and finish this up. You left some stuff out there, man.
That's all right.
You got to come back. You got to come back. The door's open. As always, we got to have you back. Brother Blair, this has been a blessing.
Thank you.
Truly a blessing, man. It's something I've learned from. You even inspired me to go and continue to research. Okay. This show is right here. It's what we need. We need this show, and we can get ready to wrap it up.
Thank you, Doc.
We got an event coming up.
At the Legends Park. That's right. You know it is old Rochester, and I kind of get offended when you don't know by this time since it's
Blair Park.
That's right. William Blair Jr. Park in South Dallas, April 8th. 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Just bring them chillings out there. It's going to be free. Free 99. Can I say free?
Yeah.
Free.
Hey, that's what the public want to hear.
We're going to give them some hot dogs. We're going to give them a little entertainment. We're going to paint their face, and we're going to let them take them eggs and give you the gas. Hey. We're going to pass it on. God bless you.
Man, it sounds like a blessing, man.
Thank you, man.
Hey, we're going to see you, and we love you, and may God bless you.
Thank you so much. God bless, man.
Yes, sir.